Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome back to Caddy Go Garage. So today we are working on rebuilding the fuel pump for our 48 Cadillac. We have our little press set up here because some of the parts have to be pressed in and out like these right here, which we'll show you how to do. There's no videos online to show how to do this, so that's pretty much why I wanted to do this little video for you guys. I bought the rebuild kit from Caddy Daddy. Highly recommend them. Like I said, these fuel pumps, you don't really send them out to get rebuilt. You have to do it yourself. So it comes with everything you need. And of course, your instruction papers here to figure all that out. All right, I'll let you take over now.
The hardest part on these, like she said, with the press is these diaphragms come together pressed with the shaft. So you want to mark the shaft because the shaft has to go in and hook on your little hooks. So the gasket has to be in relation to the position of the shaft. So before you take the old one apart, put a mark down the diaphragm so I knew where the shaft positioning was. So what they recommend is they recommend you put a socket on the back of the thing like that, and you take that there and you end up pressing the center out. It's a pinned over, smashed in fit. The pin drops out, the shaft comes out, the diaphragms separate, and then you can go ahead and put your new diaphragm on. They recommend putting Permatex gasket sealer on this washer before you put it, and then a thin layer on the diaphragm itself, right about in the midsection. Then you put your second washer on there. Then you put your thrust, they call it a thrust washer, that goes on there. Then when you back the thing up, you actually put it in the vise. Well, I can just explain it. So you end up putting it in the vise, backed up, tightened up on that so the shaft doesn't move. And then you end up peening that back over. You take a 5/16 deep socket first. So when you have put your washer down on that one, put your Permatex in between there, put some more Permatex in there. They recommend putting Permatex around the shaft so it doesn't leak through the shaft. So you put this in the vise and you pinch your vise against that base, and then you put it in the vise this way. You put your gaskets and your washers down. You put that what's called a thrust washer. Then you drive the washers down on the pin with a 5/16 deep socket. So you drive it down as far as it'll go to where it's kind of snug, and then you take your ball peen hammer and peen that end over and get it to flare out around that thrust washer. And then they tell you to go ahead and hit it again and set because you may have some movement in it, so you want to set that thrust washer again and then peen it again until you get no movement out of the two pieces. So you do that both on the fuel diaphragm and on the vacuum diaphragm.
Because
it's
this
little
also
bit of a process, but it's doable.
So this isn't only a fuel pump, but it also, did you say, controls the wipers of the car because it's a vacuum?
It's a vacuum pump.
Yeah.
A lot of the older 40s cars had that, especially the Cadillacs.
But anyway, we'll kind of show the process of putting this thing back together. I'll just kind of set up the camera, put it on fast forward. But like I said, all of our new parts here, and you can order this for your car if you have one at caddydaddy.com. And then also when you're rebuilding your fuel pump, be careful that you don't rust your glass, this glass dome piece here, because good luck ever finding another one. So these parts are getting more and more rare every day and very difficult to find. So
and your check valves are pretty self-explanatory. They pull that keeper ring out, the check valves come out. You put a new gasket down underneath them. On this side of it, the other diaphragm side of it, they're actually peened in the housing. So you want to take a screwdriver. I just took a screwdriver and pried the aluminum. And they only peen 2 of them out of the 4 to hold them in. So you go ahead and put undo the peening part of it. Fumble fingers.
well, there's such little parts to handle, little delicate things.
But you can edit.
There just isn't much, you know, on these old 40s cars on YouTube, so that's why I try to help educate people, since that's what the channel's all about. So hopefully this video will help somebody out there. But anyway, we're just going to continue to work on this, and I'll edit out the parts later, and hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Thanks for tuning in today.
Okay, we're going to put the check valves into the vacuum part of it. So the side, I guess, that has marked with the O is check valve going out, and then the other one will be in the other way. So like I said, they were peened over at one time, so it's kind of a pressed fit. Tap them in. Try to anyway. A little big, looks like. Okay, so that's set in. You got to undo, that's the hard, but it's so it's soft aluminum, it comes right off. Pretty easy to do. Try to get a socket that'll go on that. Sockets are a little dirty inside.
They get used like crazy.
Trying to get it driven down but not bend it too much or brass. Okay. Feels good. And then like I said, from the factory all they did was peen 2 of these over, so I'll try to use the same one because it's got plenty of material. You just want to give it enough tap to where the thing's not going to back out again. It actually expands the metal around it. Oop, a little much on that one, but that's all right. Just enough to expand the metal, the aluminum around the housing so it can't back out. Plus you saw they were pretty pressed fit, so they're probably not going to back out. So in taking your housings, of course, you want to take a piece of flat sandpaper on a flat surface and surface both parts so you get a good seal, but they do recommend on the fuel side at least to put a little Permatex on the flange, so we're just going to put a very thin layer just for a little added protection. So you got your little new cup seal that's going to seal around the shaft that goes down from the spring. Got your spring and your keeper washer that sits on the bottom of that diaphragm. And then like I said, this is the part where your relationship of the gasket is very important to where it hooks on the fuel pump down inside the drive lever. So if that relationship is off, that you'll never get that hook.
And obviously this lever actually goes inside your motor.
Yep.
In case anybody's wondering. You can refer back to my video of when I removed this off the car. That's also on my channel if you guys want to go back and look.
So the hooks are relationally like that, 90 degrees, and you're going to see if your holes somewhat line up, which it looks pretty good. So of course now you got to go against the spring pressure and get that through there. This one was a real pain to get off because I don't even remember how we really did it. Kind of luck of the draw where you actually get that to hook underneath there again. So the relationship of the holes actually looks pretty good. But now I gotta look at pictures to find out the relationship of the...
Always take pictures when you're taking things apart. It's very helpful for putting back together because these are a lot of little pieces and you can forget something. We're all human and you know, it just, you gotta make sure you get it put back together correctly.
So we found out the relationship of the clocking of the bottom housing because I took pictures because I forget. So we're going to be putting the fuel, the overflow is actually goes out that way. So we make sure we have our spring. It is hooked to the arm. That's going to sit inside your housing there, which actually causes when it vibrates to do the pumping action. So we're going to take that down there. And we're going to grab us some screws. You got to, I mean, they recommend in the book, you got to be careful when you take this apart because it could come flying apart at you, but the spring pressure in there, it's not a very hefty spring, so it's not gonna, they say to wear eye protection and all that because it's gonna hurt you, but really, I mean, it's not pushing down that hard. Just get your screws started and it'll hold the spring against the spring pressure. Lugs on a wheel, you want to go kind of across and back and forth and get them pulled down evenly. I don't think we're going to warp this housing, but yeah. So we're going to try to get this arm hooked in to our other side. It's a little easier because it's shorter, so I don't know that you can actually see.
I'm pulling this arm down to bring the spring mechanism up so that he can hopefully hook it. This is definitely going to be the tricky part, probably the hardest part of the whole process. Looks like you've almost got it.
So there's where you get it hooked.
Yep, got it.
And go ahead and let that go, sir.
Okay.
Because that actually gets pulled the other way, so that's why the hooks are on the other side.
Okay.
Keeper cap that sits there. This spring goes inside your housing there, which is what pushes the vacuum part of the diaphragm shut. And once again, I need to check my pictures. So in checking my pictures of the clocking of the vacuum side of the diaphragm, going off of this arm, the part that has the casting for AC, the inlet side, I guess that's what that says, goes on that first screw past the arm. So we want to put this little, you got this little spring keeper on there that the spring centers on. And then this is probably going to be the difficult one to pull down because it is a little bit heftier spring.
It's got a load on it.
So I may have to incorporate some help from the camera person.
All right. Want my help? Or you got it?
It started anyway.
Always make sure your gasket here is in the right place. Right here.
That's your total diaphragm itself. So make sure the spring just pulls down nicely. And once you get a couple started, it should stay. Keyword.
Keyword should. And a good bench vise always helps to hold things. Because this would be a very difficult job to do with just hands. Impossible. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Real close to being impossible.
So get all your screws started by hand, and then like he said earlier, go around kind of like a star pattern, like when you do lug nuts on a tire. Get them all started and then snug them down evenly. Now Now again, like I said earlier, this piece right here is glass, and these are very hard to come by, so be careful when you're doing this.
And then you have the paper thin strainers that I did not take out. I cleaned them real good with Avgas because they feel like paper. So then they're just brass. So that just sandwiches back together on there. You got these little
Excuse the noise.
knurled screws. So it goes up, and then this actually just presses down onto here, like so. Put our new cork gasket in there. We just gotta find the holes where this used to be. Been a while.
Yeah, we've only had this taken off the car now for forever.
And there you have it. Pretty much that's your fuel vacuum pump. We had the lines off for a while. We cleaned those out, got them all nice to put back in the car, and so the installation will be next.
Thank you guys for watching today. If you guys have a 48 or 49 Cadillac out there, I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, there's not much available on YouTube. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Have a very blessed day, and we'll see you in the next Cadillac adventure.